Okay, so today we're going deep on how kids learn to read.
Uh-huh.
And specifically, we're looking at some of the bumps in the road that can happen for Chinese children.
Right.
And, you sent over this amazing research article,
Yeah,
and I really think we can pull out some fascinating stuff from this.
absolutely.
So, to set the stage,
Yeah.
why don't you give us kind of a quick overview of what this research is all about?
Sure. So this is a meta-analysis
Okay.
called The Deficit Profiles of Chinese Children with Reading Difficulties. Meta-analysis,
Got it.
and it's by Peng and colleagues, published in 2017.
Okay.
And this is huge. It's a meta-analysis, which means it looks at
Wow.
a combined data from 81 different studies
81.
involving thousands of kids in mainland China and Hong Kong.
Thousands of kids.
Yeah, so it gives a really broad and reliable picture of what's going on.
So this is like the super study of reading difficulties
Yes.
in Chinese.
Exactly.
So why should our listeners care about this?
Right.
What's so fascinating about looking at specifically Chinese children?
Well, if we can understand the specific challenges that Chinese children face when they're learning to read,
Yeah.
it actually shines a light on how reading works for everyone.
Oh. Okay.
Plus, the Chinese language is unique in many ways.
Right.
So this research throws up some really surprising
Yeah.
aha moments
Okay.
about what makes reading click or not.
Yeah. And I think that's what we're always looking for on the deep dive is
Ah,
those
yeah.
aha moments.
Yeah.
So before we jump into all the fascinating findings,
Yeah.
can we just get a sense of how big of a problem is this?
Sure.
Are we talking about just a tiny percentage of kids, or is this...
So this study points out that somewhere between 5 and 8% of school-aged Chinese children experience reading difficulties.
5 to 8%. That's
Yeah.
not insignificant.
No, it's a significant issue, and that's why it's so important to really understand
Right.
what's going on and what we can do about it.
So
Yeah.
this study looked at 8 key skills.
Yes.
Can you walk us through those and tell us why those are the skills that researchers are so interested in?
Okay, so these are skills that researchers have theorized
Okay.
play a crucial role in reading both in languages like English
Okay.
and specifically in Chinese.
Got it.
So we're talking about things like phonological awareness.
Okay.
That's your ability to hear and play around with the sounds in spoken words.
Okay.
Then there's rapid naming,
Okay.
which is simply how quickly you can name familiar things like colors or objects.
So just being able to see something
Uh-huh.
and quickly retrieve that name.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Orthographic knowledge is your awareness of the visual structure of written characters.
How the characters look.
Yes, exactly how they're put together.
Okay.
They also looked at morphological awareness.
Okay. Now, I think for a lot of our listeners, they
Yeah.
might not be familiar with that term.
Sure.
So in the context of Chinese, what does morphological awareness mean?
So think about how many Chinese characters have that person radical on the left.
Right.
Understanding that it often relates to people or concepts related to people, that's part of morphological awareness.
Got it.
It's recognizing the meaningful parts within a character.
Okay.
Then we have short-term memory,
Okay.
working memory, which is like your brain's sticky note for holding and manipulating information.
Right. Being able to hold a bunch of stuff in your mind
Exactly.
while you're doing something with it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Visual skills, kind of obvious why those are important for reading.
Right.
And even motor skills, which can be important for handwriting and character production.
Right.
So really getting those characters onto the page.
So a pretty comprehensive set of skills
It's the least.
that they were looking at. So the first thing they did is they compared children with reading difficulties
Right.
to children who were developing typically.
Exactly.
And they call this the ATD group.
That's right.
So what jumped out when they made that comparison?
So the children with reading difficulties showed significant struggles in several areas.
Okay.
They had what the study classified as severe deficits in morphological awareness,
Okay.
rapid naming,
Okay.
orthographic knowledge,
Mhm.
phonological awareness, working memory.
So a lot of those things we just talked about.
Right. It wasn't just one or two things.
Right.
It was often a combination of these underlying skills
Wow.
where they faced challenges.
So on the surface, it looks like a lot of things are going wrong for these kids.
It does, yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
They then compared the kids with reading difficulties to another group,
Yes.
children who were actually reading at the same level,
Right.
but hadn't been diagnosed with reading difficulties.
Exactly.
And they call these kids the RTD group.
Yeah.
So same reading level,
Yes.
but one group has a diagnosis of reading difficulties,
Yeah.
the other one doesn't.
That's right.
Why did they make this comparison?
Because maybe some of those initial deficits that we saw are a result of struggling to read rather than the cause.
Okay,
You know, if you're having trouble reading, you're not going to develop those skills as quickly.
that makes sense.
So we need to tease that apart.
Okay.
And when they made that comparison, the picture shifted quite a bit.
Okay, how so?
They found that only moderate deficits remained in rapid naming
Okay.
and mild deficits in orthographic knowledge.
So much less of a difference
Much less, yeah.
than when they were comparing to typically developing children.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a big takeaway right there.
It is.
Some of those seemingly big differences we saw at first
Right.
might actually be because of the reading difficulties themselves.
Yes.
But rapid naming and
Yeah.
understanding how characters look
Right.
still seems to be an issue even when reading ability is similar.
Exactly. And that suggests that those two things might play a more fundamental role in developing reading skills in Chinese.
Okay, so now let's dig into some of the specifics.
Okay.
You mentioned that they looked at different aspects within some of these areas, like rapid naming.
Yes.
What did they find when they kind of zoomed in on the details there?
So with rapid naming, they found that children with reading difficulties
Yeah.
had a harder time rapidly naming digits and letters
Okay.
compared to when they had to quickly name Chinese characters.
Now that is really counterintuitive.
That is surprising.
You would think that naming those complex characters
You would, yeah.
would be more difficult
Yeah.
than naming a simple letter or a number.
That's what you'd expect.
Yeah.
But what the researchers suggest is that this might be because
Okay.
accessing the names of numbers and letters could be a more automatic process for them,
Okay.
perhaps developed earlier or used more frequently in other contexts.
Okay.
Whereas character recognition, even for naming, might involve a slightly different kind of processing
Okay.
that isn't as hampered in this specific rapid naming task.
So it's almost like the pathway for retrieving those numbers and letters
Yeah.
is somehow more efficient.
Or less susceptible to whatever's causing the reading difficulties.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So what about phonological awareness?
Okay.
We know that's a big deal for reading in English.
Right.
How did that play out in the study?
So surprisingly, the deficits in phonological awareness were pretty consistent
Okay.
across different areas.
Okay.
So whether it was being aware of syllables, onset rhyme.
Onset rhyme for people who don't know.
Onset rhyme is like the beginning and ending sounds of a syllable.
So like cat.
Yeah.
Cat.
Exactly.
Okay.
Individual phones, or even the tones, which are so crucial in Chinese.
Right.
The children with reading difficulties showed similar levels of struggle across all those tasks.
Okay, so it wasn't like they had a specific problem with tones,
Right.
which you might expect given that it's such an important part of the Chinese language.
Yeah, you would think that, but it seems to be more of a general difficulty in
What?
processing the sounds of language.
And what about memory?
So when they look at short-term and working memory, they didn't find significant differences
Okay.
between tasks that used words and numbers
Okay.
versus tasks that used visual patterns.
So again, it seems like a general issue
Yeah, it seems to be across the board.
with memory,
Right.
not tied to one specific type of information.
Exactly.
Okay, so now we're going to move on to the other factors that they looked at.
Right.
Things like how severe the reading difficulty was,
Uh-huh.
where the children lived,
Yeah, mainland versus Hong Kong.
how they were initially screened for reading problems,
Right.
and their age.
Yes.
So let's start with severity.
Okay.
What did they find there?
So when it came to the severity of reading difficulties, they found that kids who had more significant reading challenges
Yeah.
tended to show more pronounced deficits in morphological awareness,
Okay.
phonological awareness, rapid naming, and visual skills.
So the more severe the reading difficulty,
Yes.
the more severe the problems with these other skills.
Yeah, that kind of makes sense. The greater the hurdle, the more impact it has.
That seems logical.
Yeah.
What about location? Did that make a difference?
So that's a great point because mainland China and Hong Kong have some differences in language use and education.
Right.
Especially considering the differences in the written script.
Right. Simplified versus traditional.
Exactly, and the dialects.
Yeah, and even the early reading instruction.
Right, because they use pinyin a lot more
Much more than mainland. Yeah.
in mainland China.
Yeah.
So did they find any differences based on location?
So despite all of those differences,
Okay.
the study found no significant differences in the overall patterns of deficits.
So a kid in Beijing
Yeah.
is going to look pretty similar to a kid in Hong Kong.
Yeah, in terms of those underlying
And
skills.
how did they explain that?
So they suggested that early literacy practices might be becoming increasingly similar across the two regions.
Interesting.
For instance, there's a growing trend in mainland China to introduce character recognition earlier,
Okay.
sometimes even before a strong focus on pinyin.
So they're kind of shifting
Yeah.
the emphasis there a little bit.
Okay.
Um, and also the increasing emphasis on early English language learning in both regions
Right.
might contribute to some shared experiences.
Right, because then they're both dealing with an alphabetic system.
Exactly.
Okay.
So there might be some convergence there.
So the way they're learning to read might be becoming more similar,
Yeah,
even though there are still those other differences in place.
right.
Okay, so what about how these children were initially identified
Yeah.
as having reading difficulties? Did that make a difference?
So for the most part, no.
Okay.
Whether the initial screening focused just on recognizing characters
Okay.
or included a measure of reading comprehension
Okay.
didn't generally change the pattern of deficits.
Okay.
The one exception was rapid naming again.
Oh, rapid naming keeps coming up.
It does.
Okay.
So younger children who were flagged as having reading difficulties
Yeah.
based on both character recognition problems
Oh.
and difficulties understanding what they read.
So both decoding and comprehension.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Showed more severe rapid naming deficits.
So for those kids who are struggling on multiple levels,
Yeah.
rapid naming seems to be particularly affected.
Yes, particularly for younger children.
Got it. And finally, what role did age play?
So age did have a noticeable impact on rapid naming deficits.
Okay.
The study indicated that younger children with reading difficulties tended to have more significant rapid naming challenges compared to older children with reading difficulties.
Okay.
So that suggests that as children develop,
Yeah.
their rapid naming skills might improve,
Okay.
and difficulties in this area might be more pronounced earlier on.
So that's good news in a way.
Yeah, it is. It suggests that there's some development happening there,
Okay.
and maybe some hope for intervention
Right.
to help boost those skills.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've talked about how big of a problem this is, the
Yeah.
skills that are involved, some really interesting domain-specific findings,
Yeah.
how other factors come into play.
Right.
So for all the teachers and parents and clinicians out there,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways?
So this research offers some really valuable guidance for both identifying and supporting these children.
Okay.
So for diagnosis, it suggests that in addition to the standard reading assessments,
Okay.
incorporating measures of morphological awareness,
Mm-hmm.
orthographic knowledge,
Okay.
rapid naming, phonological awareness, and working memory.
Okay, so looking at all of these things.
Yeah, it gives educators and clinicians a broader set of tools
All right.
to look at the whole picture.
And what about teaching? What should teachers be focusing on?
So for instruction, the study underscores the importance of explicitly teaching phonological awareness,
Okay.
orthographic knowledge,
Uh-huh.
and morphological awareness.
Okay.
The fact that rapid naming and orthographic knowledge seems so crucial
Right.
suggests that structured and repeated practice in learning characters, things like flashcards and focused exercises on recognizing and writing characters.
Drill and practice.
Exactly. Drill and practice could be really beneficial.
To really drilling down on those foundational elements
Yes.
of reading in Chinese.
Right. The sounds, the visual structure, and the meaning-based parts of words.
And what about working memory? You mentioned that they found some pretty significant deficits there.
Yes. So the researchers suggest that combining academic skills instruction with activities specifically designed to boost working memory
Okay.
could be a particularly effective approach.
So not just teaching them the reading skills,
Right.
but also
Right.
working on that underlying working memory,
Exactly. It highlights that reading difficulties are complex
right?
and often involve a combination of factors. So our interventions need to be multifaceted as well.
I love that word, multifaceted.
It's a good one.
All right, so to wrap it all up, what are the main things we should remember from this deep dive?
So we've learned that Chinese reading difficulties involve a complex mix of challenges with cognitive and linguistic skills,
Uh-huh.
morphological awareness, rapid naming,
Okay.
orthographic knowledge, phonological awareness, and working memory appear to be particularly key areas
Right.
where children with reading difficulties in Chinese often struggle.
Right.
While some of these difficulties are common across languages,
Yeah.
we also saw some really interesting patterns unique to Chinese.
Right, like that rapid naming difference?
Exactly. The greater impact of rapid naming deficits with digits and letters compared to characters.
Yeah, that was a real head scratcher.
It was.
So, for our listeners out there, I'm going to leave you with a question.
Okay.
Considering that strong link between rapid naming and reading,
Yeah.
and those specific findings within rapid naming,
Yeah.
the fact that naming numbers and letters quickly seems to be a bigger hurdle than naming characters for these kids.
Right.
What could be the underlying reason for that?
Yeah.
What's the connection between the speed of accessing that kind of symbolic information and the visual and linguistic demands of reading Chinese characters?
It's a great question.
It really makes you think about the fundamental processes at play
Absolutely.
and whether digging deeper into this could lead to new ways to understand and help those who struggle with reading.
Yeah, not just in Chinese, but maybe in other writing systems too.
Right.
It's a question that opens up a lot of fascinating avenues for research
It does.
and highlights how much we still have to learn.
About this incredibly complex process
Yes,
of learning to read.
exactly.
Well, this has been another fascinating deep dive.
It has.
Thanks for joining us,
Thanks for having me.
and we'll see you next time.
See you then.